You're listening to Says podcast. Join us as we transcend cultural barriers and elevate diverse voices. Here, we inspire, inform, and empower one story at a time. Let's dive in. Hi, everybody. So, today we have this amazing guest who is a really close friend of mine. Her name is Angee.
Hi.
And today we'll discuss about her background, a little bit about her work, and also like how we met and how that actually impacted the way she looks at herself nowadays compared to what she used to think of herself. So yeah. So Angee, go ahead and introduce yourself. Let us know what you're passionate about, your background a little bit, and yeah, we'll dive in.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Angee. I was born and raised in, I guess, Los Angeles County, but more so the San Fernando Valley. My family moved to the Valley in '93 when I was born. So we kind of just been there ever since. And I lived there pretty much my whole life until recently, probably about 2 years ago, finally moved out and, kind of got out of my little bubble. I guess in general, my background, I am Mexican American. I was born and raised here. My parents were also born and raised here, so I am second generation Mexican American. I honestly very rarely went to Mexico growing up. I actually never went to Mexico growing up, so that's how kind of disconnected I was with my culture in a sense. I guess more immediate. Yeah, I grew up here. I live with my boyfriend and my little whiny dog that you may hear in this video.
He's underneath the table as we
Yes,
speak.
as we speak.
Cutie.
But yeah, I've just been focusing on my career more so than my own self. So that's kind of a bad thing and a toxic American lifestyle that I've, you know, adapted for myself. So yeah, I think as of right now, the only thing that I have right now is work, and in my life I've just had a lot of inconsistencies, and so I'm just trying to kind of get back to that and try
Yeah.
to have more of a stability and kind of pave my own path. So
Thank you.
yeah.
That was a very good, like, overall. So, your Mexican American, your culture, you feel like, because recently you traveled to Mexico, so you've actually been able to go as an
Yeah.
adult. And I know this because she's one of my best friends.
She came with me.
And we've been in Tijuana together, actually.
That too, yeah. We went to Guadalajara together too.
Yes. So, how do you feel nowadays about your culture?
I've done a lot of growing, I guess, on my own. Like I said in the beginning, like in a way I felt kind of disconnected because I am second generation, but in a way I had no choice to be connected to the culture because of all of my extended family. Literally everyone in my family speaks Spanish. I speak Spanish even though I'm not the greatest, but yo sé cómo hablar español.
Sí, 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 sí.
And I understand it a lot more than I speak it, but I've tried to, I guess, embed it more into my life than it was when I was younger. Like I always kind of like say it this way. I'm like, my grandparents came here and tried to create that American dream for my parents. And so, I feel like when you come to a different country, you try to kind of like adapt to their culture, adapt to their language. And so, yeah, my parents' kind of primary language was always English. And so I grew up with mainly English, but I was forced to always speak Spanish, even when like I didn't even know what the heck I was saying to my family, because my dad would be like, "Angee, go say bye to everybody," and I had to go in the language and speak it and be like, "Okay, well, bye, whatever it's." I've just really tried to embed it more into my life. It's hard still because I don't have anybody really to practice it with. We speak English in my like family household, and like my sister, for example, she's actually dating someone that was raised in Guatemala and has is a Spanish speaker, and so in a way, like, yeah, her Spanish has gotten so much better. And so she has someone to practice with. So that's one thing that I guess you can say I still lack. But yeah, I'm just trying to also just, I don't know, embed myself in the culture a little bit more. I love Mexican culture and I'm trying to just, I guess, make it my own. making my own for
Fair enough.
my future family, but also still trying to just engross myself into it more than I was when I was younger. And hopefully I can, extend it to my kids and be able to take them to Mexico and experience that life. And yeah, maybe dual citizenship too. You never know. Possibilities are endless.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then I think the advantage of speaking Spanish too sometimes, like you want to talk on the down low, when you're in public,
Yes.
and some things are better said in Spanish. I feel
Yeah,
like
and
it.
it's more
Yeah.
personable too. I feel like especially here in LA, there I don't know, you see someone's face and you know naturally that they're most likely Hispanic, Latino,
Hmm.
and being able to have kind of that like I guess yeah, that like little like hola, ¿cómo estás? Like rather than just being hey, how are you? It's like I don't know, it makes it more personable. Some people get offended by it, but I guess to each is their own. But I really love being able to connect with people like that, especially being someone that was like raised with pure English. I like being able to, use the
Hmm.
Spanish that I have and be able to
Yeah.
connect with people that way.
Yeah, no, that's
So,
great. Thank you so much for
yeah.
sharing that. So, next question that I have is for those listeners that don't know you, what do you do? You're an interior designer, which I love. It's just recently that I started updating some of my furniture at home, and so I've been able to really get to enjoy more design, picking colors, matching, picking each furniture little by little because it's hard to match everything at once.
Right.
But how did you get started? And what made you decide to be an interior designer?
Honestly, I feel like it started at a really young age. Ever since I was like really young, I always kind of excelled in arts and craft.
Hmm.
you know, them what's it called? Origami skills were on point.
Okay.
In general, I don't know why. Like like when you guys would have to do like we'd have to like create little boxes by like cutting it. My lines were always
Straight.
straight. You feel me? Colored within the lines. I'm just kidding. I don't know. I just always liked the creative side of things and at a very young age too. My dad was in the profession, so he always kind of introduced us to like site visits. I literally went to site visits when I was like under the age of like 10, and I
Okay.
went on site with him when he had to go look at a job, that was like a ground up and we would go and he'd be like, "Oh yeah, this is my daughter." And it's crazy to like think of that and then to now be where I'm currently at. And it's like full circle because I'm currently working with people my dad used to work with 30 years ago when he first
Wow.
started in this industry. And so now I'm, now their architect. So I know it's really crazy, but in general, I am an interior designer, but my background is very geared into architecture. I guess I'm an interior architect, even though apparently that's not a thing, but it should be. So yeah, I focus mainly on like tenant improvements, but in general, I still dive into the architect aspect. We still do construction documents if anybody out there knows what I'm talking about. Yeah, and if you guys ever need services, let me know. Any renovations. I honestly, I have an education in interior design. And as much as I do like interiors, I feel like there's certain aspects of the interiors that I would prefer rather than others. Like
Mhm.
furniture, for example, doesn't really appeal to me. I mean, okay, there, in the sense of like, I don't like having to choose furniture for people,
Mm,
whereas like I would love to build furniture. That's kind of
yeah.
like a difference. But in
Yeah.
general, I like to create and help people create different spaces for their homes and be able to like make their space different from what they originally started with, and yeah, making finishes and colors into their actual home, and I don't know, stuff like that. I don't like to really gear myself into the decorative part of, I guess, the interiors. But yeah, right now I'm currently working at an architecture firm, and just in general, I've always kind of saw myself in this world. So yeah, maybe one day I'll get my architecture license. We'll see.
Touching back on what you were saying, building furniture for people, I think that's become a little more popular nowadays,
Mhm.
where people like that clean look, where it's like things are already built into the
Mm.
wall and it just looks
Mhm.
nicer. And a lot of people DIY lately.
Mhm.
Obviously, you want to go to somebody who knows what they're doing to save time, such as Angee. She does take contracts on the side if
Mhm.
you're serious about it. So contact her. She's great. How do you go in with, like, let's say you're working with a potential client, what are the first things that you go asking the client? Like, what do you need from them to, help them?
Start the process.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in general, you have to know kind of like the scope of work in general, and scope of work means what you want done to your space, to your home, or if you're trying to create a ground up building, if you're trying to, knock down walls, if you want to liven your area up a little bit. Just, I think, overall understanding what the client wants. I think in all services it's always kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
geared to what the client wants, but also in interiors it's interesting because you want to be able to give people the freedom to give their opinion on what they want, but also sometimes giving them too many options could
Yeah.
lead to a lot of confusion, and
Mm.
just people get really overwhelmed, and especially people that this is not their like first, this is something that they're not used to. It's just, it could be hard, it could be overwhelming. And I
Yeah.
used to work in retail for furniture, and trust me, couples, that's like a make or break for people. It's really,
Right.
it's
Yeah, I
scary.
imagine it's like wedding planning too. And when it's up
Yeah.
there too, because it's also part of designing too.
Yes.
But it's like you want something perfect, but like when you don't have the experience, then it can be hard, right? To
Well,
like
yeah, and it's,
step back and just be like, let the professional do its thing,
yeah.
and let's put my trust on the
And
professional. Yeah.
having, yeah, people having too many opinions, especially typically like it's, the woman that has more opinions, and usually the man is just like, all right, here's the money, go get what we need. But
Yeah.
there's some men that are like super opinionated, and it just makes things difficult. Like, men, just remember, this is happy wife
It's a happy
equals
life.
happy life, okay? So just leave your opinions to yourself. I'm just kidding.
I do have to say that's probably very true.
Oh, it is, trust me. I'm like, I didn't just say that to
Um,
say that.
yeah, I mean, not everybody, but I definitely, for me, in my relationship, I take the responsibility of making a home, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Because there used to be a
yeah.
bachelor patch, and you can tell the difference if there's a woman in the home and if there is not women, or like that feminine touch. Not to exclude other people out there as well,
For sure.
that are in the same sex relationship. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I wanted to share with the audience how we met because it was very unique, and we have shifted our focus nowadays. But yeah, talk a little bit about how we met. The way I remember it to start is I met her through common friends, and we had a shared passion, which is modeling.
Yeah.
And so yeah, go ahead and
Yeah, so I mean,
share
in
your.
general, as you guys know, I just explained, I work in an architecture firm and I do interiors, but I try to dabble in other things and always had passions for other things. And, this, I feel it also takes into growing up here in America. Growing up, I was always watching Miss Tyra Banks, Next Top Model, just growing up with that, I guess you can say, cultural lifestyle that back in the early 2000s, it was just very in your face,
Mhm.
just like modeling, and you saw all these like very thin girls, and
Mm.
like on very thin and tall, very thin and tall, let's just put that in there, girls just like all over the magazine, and me also being a fellow tall gal. I always wanted that for myself, but oh my, I'm so
Mm.
sorry.
Little break to
Here's your
pet Jaxie,
baby,
a
yes.
little baby.
Your Dia, say hi.
We
You
had a
wanna just
doggy in
be
our first episode too from the guest.
yeah, you just have
Second, so
little.
we're gonna have the second dog guest in this podcast. Let's
He's
go. Why
needy. He's a
not?
pity, and if you guys know pits, they're just needy little
He's a
babies. He's
cutie.
your baby
Actually, fun
pants.
fact, Angie rescued him, which
Yeah.
is we encourage you guys to rescue dogs. We definitely have an issue
Yeah.
lately where there's a lot of them about to be euthanized, but
She
she
was on
actually.
the youth list. My boyfriend always likes to remind me. Look at this. This is called cobbling, apparently.
Oh,
I used to
really?
always call it nibbling because it's nibbles, but you need to stop cobbling like a corn. Anyway, so going back to modeling. Yeah, so growing up, I just being a taller girl, literally being always the tallest girl within all of my class, within
Yeah.
all
How
of the
tall are you?
boys in elementary school. Shoot, I don't even remember, but there was like a
Mm-hmm.
photo of me and a friend. Like, I mean, in general, she was like always like very short, like 5'1", 5'2",
Yeah.
and like I tower over her. It's the funniest thing. So I mean, now I'm like 5'11", 5'10" and a half, I guess. Let's
She's
be a little technical.
she's definitely taller than me, which is great because I'm not the tallest person
Yes, I
when I'm
always
around her.
take the tall girl over a lot of people. But anyway, yeah, just being in that, I always wanted to be a model, and like I grew up with my sister. My sister's about like 3.5 years older than me, and so we were really close when growing up, and we would always, since she was the older sister, she always like explored in makeup first, and was a little bit more girlier than me. I was a little bit more of a tomboy growing up. So my sister was the one that would always like do my makeup and like dress me, and we would take little photo shoots. Just thinking about it now, it just makes me laugh. But yeah, early 2000s, it was fun. And as I got older, people started getting more accepted. People, I mean, as in curvier people, into the modeling world. And I wanted to take advantage of that, I guess. I would have
Yeah.
loved to have started, at a younger age, but unfortunately, I started a
Mhm.
little later. And, everything happens for a reason. I feel
Mhm.
like for me, it was something a journey that I had to go through in order to get where I was at that point of wanting to model, because yeah, it took just kind of a lot of confidence. I feel like when you get into the modeling world, you have to have some type of confidence in yourself
Yeah.
and what you're presenting out there. And
Mhm.
even now I think about it, like when I was doing modeling, I don't feel like I was at the most confidence, and I feel like you could definitely vouch for that. I would always be like, all right, enough is enough, Cyrus, that's enough photos of me. Now I always loved being behind the camera and kind of being the director for Cyrus specifically. And I don't know, it's still, even till today, it's hard to be in front of a camera. I don't mind, actually. It's weird. I don't mind being in front of like live cameras, but I don't like being in front of still cameras. It's a little bit more permanent, I guess you can say, and not as forgiving
Yeah.
as this.
Was a video, yeah, you don't get to see much of the behind the scene, and it's sort of like you have one shot to portray what you're feeling in that moment, what you're trying to convey.
Oh
It's a
yeah,
lot
have you
harder.
seen top
Lighting has to
models?
be on point. Like if lighting is not on point, then you have to retake it, and there's a lot that goes into it. But I do have to say, even for those people that don't want to be modeled necessarily, but they're maybe struggling with body
Yeah,
empowerment,
it helps.
we really like suggest people to do it. We encourage you because it really makes you much more comfortable with your own body. And there's something about being sexy in your own terms that I feel like it helps you with that, boost your self-esteem, which I really loved.
Yeah,
So also, I mean, we live in LA, come on, everybody's trying to model here,
I know,
or
literally, and it.
actress or actor, like
Yeah, specifically around the time that we were trying to do that, what, like 2000. I started kind of like around 2016 was when I really started diving into it. It was like towards the end of my college career. So I went
let's
out for
take
a
a break
walk.
right now for a sponsor, and we'll be right back.
Today's episode is sponsored by RenovateMagicHub.com, your guide to transforming your home. Whether you're updating a room or planning a full makeover, Renovate Magic Hub provides tailored product suggestions to suit your style and budget. Visit RenovateMagicHub.com for inspiring and practical tips to create a space you'll love.
Welcome back to the episode. So as we were talking, yeah, LA, everybody wants to be an actress or an actor and a model, and it comes with the territory of where we live in. So
Yeah, and even though I didn't get as far as I would have liked to, there's so many opportunities out here for that, for modeling, for acting, for really anything creative. LA is like the biggest blessing to anybody trying to pursue that. And yeah, I was like, well, why not take advantage of that? Unfortunately, it never, got anywhere, but I don't think I'm done yet.
I
You know
don't
what
think
I
so.
mean? I
And
want to potentially.
if you guys get to see the video, which I encourage you guys on YouTube, Angie is bomb. Like her face is so beautiful. I think she'd be like the perfect Mexican American plus size model to come. Let's go. I mean, look at her. And I don't think, honestly, there is more inclusion, but not quite yet. If you guys really truly see, we just had the Victoria's Secret fashion show recently. There was really just two
I
plus
know.
size models. And
There's been a lot of
it's always the same two plus size models.
Ashley Graham and up and coming and trying to do that, but
Yeah, so I feel
yeah,
like
for
we
sure.
need, yes, you guys have done more inclusion, but I feel like there has to be more. And even
Yeah.
for me, I thought for my height, I was perfect height. The problem for me, I felt like I'm curvy. At the end of the
Mhm.
day, yes, I'm skinny waist, but I do have my curves in my hips. And every time I went for casting, model casting, like they're either very skinny
Mhm.
and or very like beautiful faces, which I agree, but it's just like there's not much curve, or it's the typical look of like if you're Asian, it had to be very specific Asian, right? Look, where it's like mixed, truly mixed people. It's much more rare to see them strive in that industry, I'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and like I feel like depending on what modeling you get into, like high
Mm,
fashion modeling, people want kind of like an androgynous look, you know what I mean? Something
mm-hmm.
kind of just very out of the ordinary, very different. And there's e-commerce, there's fashion,
Yeah.
type modeling where it's just kind of like you try clothes on and just fast modeling, fast photos, get a shot. All right, let's change it to another outfit. And so, yeah, there's looks I feel for everything. And like I said, I don't think I'm done. Could do it. Like I said in the beginning, I'm trying
Yes.
to get more consistency in life. I don't know, I've been having kind of an itch to
Huh.
do something, and life has just lifed and
Well,
and
technically for us, we were going out there, putting ourselves out there. I did a couple of like backstage
yeah.
things actually.
Mhm.
So it was kind of taking off. I think the problem was the pandemic hit us,
That
and
was
that really like shook
I forget
us.
about that sometimes.
That really was a big part of why we kind of stopped
Yeah.
because it was like we have
Everything
to.
plateaued. Everything just kind of took a pause on everything. Job searches. I had originally tried to move to a different city and I moved in with my dad. And so I wanted to kind of like, ignite something and get a new job and possibly get further in modeling while being out there. And then all of a sudden within that month I moved, everything shut down. And that
Yeah.
was really crazy. Like it feels like a dream. It literally, like, I don't even remember anything. Like it's hard to like put into
Yeah.
words. And I feel like maybe a lot of you guys can relate, but
Yeah.
it was a weird time. It was a really weird time in life. So yes, that did put a big hinder in that. And
Yeah.
like I said, life continues. Shit happens and people come into your life and certain things happen that just kind of derail you. And I just feel like the mindset kind of wasn't there anymore. And it
Mm-hmm.
just trying to kind of get a job was started again being the purpose or being my goal, because unfortunately at that time I had moved and I was trying to find something more permanent. So that ended up starting to be a goal. And then I think about it now, obviously I could have started, my podcast, which that's another topic for
She
another
wanted to
day.
start one, yeah. She
Yeah.
can eventually,
Yeah,
potentially,
yeah.
so yeah.
And yes, and I've been talking about it a lot this year in general, like that I would love to have, started it, but I don't know. There's everything kind of comes when it comes, and when it comes to like work. I always tell myself like one thing at a time. You can't overwhelm yourself, and you can't allow your lack of doing something also impact your future, because a lot of people, I feel like, when they end up not doing something and just not
Mm-hmm.
achieve like certain goals, they get very down about themselves and
Yes.
they allow it to consume them, to the point where they just don't do it at all.
No, for
And
sure. And I think, but I do have to say, you think a lot. You're very outspoken, which I love. I love that part of you. But also, you're very good at articulating what you're thinking, how you're feeling. And I think that's important.
Mhm.
I think you mentioned to me one time the fact that you became so articulate partially was because your dad encouraged you to learn how to speak to people
Mhm.
and to clients, right? But you were talking about going to sites with him. So
Mhm.
that really helped you to be mature a lot faster,
For sure.
understand people. How do you talk to an adult or a potential client? So I think that really helped you, become this articulated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. I mean, that was yeah, going back to my dad on that. He always said, he was like, you don't have to be an A+ student. He's like, you just need to know how to communicate with someone. You need to learn how to talk. You need to be able to talk to someone, get personable with them. And I mean, me and all of my siblings, I mean, I have a brother and a sister, we all know how to talk. All know how to carry a conversation. We're all very personable. We were able to get very like intimate with someone. And yeah, I was raised with people that just didn't mind us, I guess, being vocal. Even though, parents, especially Latino parents, they machismo comes out, and the very like strict mother comes out as well. And so they always want to be kind of like, this is me and this is you. Always remember that. So like obviously that was still, something in my household. With just the way I talk alone, hopefully I can get myself into something.
Yeah.
And yeah, like with my job right now, I've been there almost for 3 years. Crazy to think, but I've almost been there for 3 years, and they're very understanding and very lenient. So when I get more PTO, and that's next year. So again, a lot of this is for next year because it's already October. Like with that opportunity to be able to potentially take time off and be able to also focus on other things, they kind of encourage that too, which I love. Shout out Magellan, woo woo. Uh, yeah, that maybe I'll be able to have time for that. And yeah, I really do want to focus it. It's the year of you, all right? It's a soft girl era. It's it's self-care era. It's focusing on yourself, okay? And yeah, mind your own business.
Yeah, no, for sure. I like that how you put it. Yeah, talking about like the soft skills, super important for y'all. I have to say, learn that. It's just as important as like going
Being
to
a firm
school.
woman, yeah. Or being like how we've talked about, like beta and alpha, balance.
Yeah,
It's
having
hard
a balance.
because being a person that is very outspoken and a bit aggressive, it's been a learning experience to just be a little, calmer. And that too, I feel like when we like, I mean, you've done your bachelor's, you've even gotten your MBA. Look at this girl. And it's just like I feel like when people specifically that go to college after high school, you're in high school and you graduate. You go to college, you graduate. It's like something's always kind of coming and being fulfilled in a sense. And I feel like once you're out of college or out of higher education and then just kind of go into the workforce, not saying that work isn't fulfilling. Some people, hey, actually maybe work might not actually be fulfilling for some people, but for the most part, you just kind of like lose that like spark of like something new. And I feel like that's how I've kind of been feeling lately, where me and my sister talk about this all the time, where it's just like we're always constantly going and going. We're so used to that life. We never stop, whether it be work, whether it be like having side hustles and stuff like that. And so it's just like that's such a I feel like that's very culturally an LA thing. I don't know if that's because I hear so many people like in different cities and different states that talk about like
I think it's also it might be a little bit cultural too.
Yeah.
I think as a Latino too, the community is like, if you're not doing something, what are you doing? Right?
Yes,
and sometimes you feel guilty for not doing anything. So you feel like you have to be doing something. And even in your free time, like posting, right? It takes energy. It's like,
God, I know.
what am I gonna post today? Oh, I need to create a story today. And sometimes you're like, I'm really not feeling it. But then you feel like you need to be out there,
Social media is not for the weak. I like give props to people with content creation. Like, yeah, even with modeling, when I was trying to like post all the time, oh my God, I was so inconsistent because first of all, you have to have content to actually post. You have to actually post it. And
we used to get multiple outfits and we would do like probably content for like maybe 2 weeks at a time or 3 weeks.
Try to at least do it for a month, stretch it for like a month. So we are like
guys profusely like changing our makeup and changing our look and our hair and the look, and then changing a little bit like the scenery and driving around LA, which it's nice in LA. You don't have to drive too far to get different backgrounds. So we would do that, and we did a lot of photo shoots in Malibu because Angee was working in Malibu at the time as an interior designer as well. And yeah, it was great. But that was like the time where it's like we were the most free. And I don't know if it's because we're in a relationship now. No, I'm just kidding.
No, well,
it's priorities, obviously. There was no such thing, like we were our only priority. Obviously, as you get into a relationship, you have to kind of choose your time differently.
Yeah, and I feel like in our circumstances currently, it's also because we've moved, and I feel like that also kind of takes into it. I mean, you live a lot further. And then for me, being a person that literally lived in the valley the entire time and then now has moved to a different city, it's not even that far away, but it's an hour away, and that just like makes such a big difference. And I'm so glad, honestly, because I feel like I've outgrown the valley a very long time ago, but it was always, it's your safe zone. It's everybody has kind of like they go back home because it's familiar, it's something they know, it's a blanket, it's your blanket.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to just like adventure off into something else. So I'm really glad that I finally did. And but now it comes with having to make new friends. The effort has to come from yourself, whether it's, whereas like before it's like you made friends at school, you made friends in college. And unfortunately for me, like I don't really have that many college friends. I have like a handful of them that, I
Same.
just like stay in contact with and stuff like that. But a lot of my friendship, a lot of high school people. It's unfortunate that I'm not in contact with some of the people that I used to be really close to, and I wish them all the best of luck. But it's just that too is like something I've just outgrown, and it's just I think everybody has a point in their life where it's just like you just need to kind of do something new, and I needed something new.
You
So
did. You are getting something new. I've moved a lot recently in the past couple of years. I think it's also like I'm very comfortable with moving in a way because
yeah, for
I'm an
sure.
immigrant myself, and me and my mom moved a ton when I was in high school. So that's always been like I never felt like there was always like never like one place was my permanent home.
Right, right.
And until this day, I had to fight the urge of like wanting to move
Just up and live
because
and
I
just
love
dip.
that feeling of like, what are the possibilities in this new place?
Yeah.
And then, really, when you move, it also allows you to shift your thinking, also shift like perhaps you want to be a different person and you want to change yourself. And sometimes that location, because there's too many people that are holding you back, perhaps
Hmm.
it doesn't help you. So it's good to move and change and create new friends.
For sure. And see, my issue is like I'm on the same boat as you regarding like moving because like I've moved a lot, but I've moved a lot within the valley.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's just
yeah,
like
yeah.
what?
She discovered all the places.
Except
Here.
like the west side because I've always kind of lived more so on the like east side of the 405. So in general, I've moved a lot around too, and that's goes back to my talk about like inconsistencies and just always like bouncing from one thing to another because you're not able to like really just like embed yourself into something or like start something in that area. But yeah, I've been here now for 2 years. It's gonna be 2 years in next month. Crazy.
That is crazy.
But yeah, it's now need to make sure that I'm like shifting my focus onto myself because it's you kind of like you feed off of your environment.
Yeah,
You
no,
you
for
feed off the
sure.
people that you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's kind of like that post that you posted the other day. You're like,
I
it took
do.
me a while to get it, where it's like I don't know if you guys have seen it before on Instagram, but it's like a spoiled apple going bad next to an apple that is fully, ripe and all that jazz. And, when they're together and that one's spoiling, unfortunately, the mold starts to transfer onto the good apple. And so, yeah, it's like you just kind of have to surround yourself with good people and good environment. And I feel like I have, and I just need to now start shifting the focus back onto myself. I feel like I've definitely grown very far in my career and that now I can finally kind of maybe put it on not necessarily the back burner because there's still a lot that I'm doing at work and I'm still trying to grow in my career.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just trying to balance multiple stuff. I've done it before, so it's just like if I can do it then I can do it now.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
yeah.
But the previous guest left a question because I did a question.
Okay.
So her
That'd be
question was,
interesting.
what would you say to your younger self, knowing what you know now?
Be patient, relax. Just relax. Like not everything is so serious. And that question, oof,
Oh, yeah.
it gets me
Okay.
emotional.
Yeah, it's okay.
How annoying. I knew I was gonna fucking cry. I'm a Chiona. Why? But like, yeah, I don't know. I have there as a child, I have this like you kind of like brushed over a little bit. Like I grew up very quickly.
Yeah.
That it set me up for my future, but I just grew up way too quick.
Yeah.
And advice I can give anyone is just take everything like for what it is. Always be grateful for the things that you have and try not to allow cultural stigmas to really like shape the way you feel about yourself. Because, you know, growing up as a Mexican American, I feel like it was always the goal to, like, you know, maintain your family, but also having that machismo father that would always be like, if you don't work, you're essentially nothing, you know?
Yeah.
And having even my mom, like not even the fact that my mom would like say stuff like that, it was just mainly seeing her worth ethic and like being a single mom, you know, being a single mom and just like but still maintaining her family and having to, like, you know, pick up where she left off. And even though she was depressed, having to keep going with these like little kids that you have and stuff like that. It's just, yeah, that really helped me. Like, she's one of my biggest heroes. And, you know, I have my own relationship with my father, but now I'm able to feel, you know, I don't know, I have a different mind space for my father now. And I'm grateful for the things that he has taught me. But one thing that I can say, and for anyone, you know, because we're getting older, you know, we're in the time where we are going to be having kids, hopefully soon.
In a couple of years.
And yes, and it's just it's scary because you just don't want to repeat patterns. You don't want to do the same thing, but at the same time, you know, I feel like I turned out pretty okay.
Yeah.
But I feel like there has to be like a balance, like we've always said.
For
you know,
sure,
you
there
have
has
to
to
be
be a
able
balance,
to not necessarily gritar at your freaking kid, but like be able to be like, all right,
Like scream at them.
you know, be stern, but don't test me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, I just think
Yeah, definitely like you're saying. I want to do it differently with them, but there's definitely things that the way my mom raised me that I want to keep.
Yeah.
Such as respect. I do
Yeah.
want my kids to respect me. That can never be lost for me personally as a parent, I
Absolutely.
think, because at the end of the day, there has to be a differentiation between are you my friend or are you my parent? Where I didn't have much of that with my mom.
Yeah.
I did have the respect, but at times she wanted me to be her best friend too. So it was very hard to play
That was
two,
yeah,
those two
that was like
roles.
a yeah, and that's hard because, like, you know, I feel like with my mom specifically, I had a balance with her. Like, I genuinely have always said that she's my best friend, you know? Like, she's the person that I would always tell everything to. Like, I told her sometimes more things that I would tell her my older sister. And like we were very close when we were younger, but yeah, even till today, you know, we've obviously had our differences, me and my mom, and, you know, as you get older, you realize certain things. But I'm trying to have my boundaries, which my lovely friend here has always
Remind her.
reminded me many, many times. She's my little bird, my good birdie in my ear because I'm a people pleaser, you know, and you know that. Like,
I used to be the same way. Yeah.
And yeah, you've definitely she's always been that like strong person, like, no, hold your ground. And it's funny because I'll give that advice to
I
people,
need it. Yeah,
but
even to me, because sometimes I need it for myself. I
yeah,
forget. I'm like, whoa,
but
who am I?
you gotta
That's right. I'm that girl.
yeah, but you gotta practice what you preach, because
Yeah.
when you don't practice what you preach, you're just
But with parents, it's hard. It's hard
It's
because
hard.
they're like our weakness. You know,
Yes.
they know how to push those buttons.
Yes.
That makes us very sensitive.
I mean, like,
They know how to push, and so
yeah.
it's hard, but you have to remember. Yeah. So, what question would you leave? Now it's your turn. What question would you leave to the next guest?
If you can do something else other than the career that you're currently in, what else would you do?
That's a good question.
That's
a good one. Thank
fun.
you. I'm gonna go ahead and ask. I know who the next guest is. It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah.
But I wanted to say, so Angie, where can people find you, contact you if they want to get interior design or architectural help as well, because you're working on an architecture firm too?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, if you guys are looking for any type of like interior design services, if you guys have more of like a commercial projects, you guys can always just reach out to me on Instagram. It's Angee, Angeebeas. That is my last name, Beas, Angee Beas. I have a portfolio as well with Behance through Adobe. And if you guys, you know, need me for modeling as well, I'm still accepting offers. Yeah, maybe next year everything's gonna get updated. We're gonna be looking cuter or tighter or whatever, and just loving ourselves a little bit more.
All right. Well,
So
it's been a pleasure having you,
it's
Angie.
been a
Thank you so
pleasure. I
much.
love you,
I
and I'm
love you
so happy for
too.
you, and I'm
Thank you.
excited for this journey.
I know, thank you. We'll
Aw.
stay in tune, guys, for the next guest, the next episode. As always, feel free to leave your comments. I'm definitely going to read them and answer them, and reach out to Angie if you saw the podcast and you were like, hey, I heard your podcast, and you want to get to know her more, feel free to reach out. So, yeah,
Yeah.
thank you, guys. Thanks for listening to Sire Says. Don't forget to follow, subscribe, and drop a like. Share your thoughts in the comments and stay tuned for more inspiring stories. Until next time, keep chasing those dreams.